Welcome to Blessings and Ball Carts, episode 49. We're at the Blessings Bar in this episode to hear more great news about the good word. My next guest is a worship-leading, shoe-loving, Don-Mattingly collecting force to be reckoned with. He helps lead our local church in praise and worship every Sunday, and also has a tremendous podcast highlighting the people of our church. I want to welcome my buddy, and now your friend too, Sean Malloy. Tell you have to pick a background yet. So either by default we get the Moody coffee shop, which I think you might be into, or you can pick anything you want. We can have a stage. We'll see what my production team can throw up there.
I mean, we could. So these are just my thoughts, and people are gonna hate this. I'm either gonna go.
That's what we want.
I'm either gonna go dugout at Yankee Stadium, or either Old Chicago Stadium or United Center.
Okay, so we're going sports.
Yeah, we're going sports.
Okay.
I figure it's a card show. That's part of it.
Let's go ahead and see what we can do. It's awesome to have Sean on the show because in the comments below there's a link to probably the podcast of the year, I would call it.
Something like that.
Yeah, so Sean does this great podcast for our church, for Gateway Church, where he highlights the life, the faith walk of people in the church. And I was blessed enough to be on there with him, but at the end of the podcast, I jokingly said, hey Sean, maybe you should come onto the Blessings Bar, maybe you should be part of this. And Sean accepted after he knew that there would be talk of music, shoes, and cards.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Things I love.
We'll get there.
All things that are great.
We'll get there, and it's gonna lead up to that. But first, let's hear more about what's your faith walk been like as a kid. You know, through college, through marriage. Where's the faith been?
Well, I didn't grow up going to church.
Okay.
Grew up in a family that believed in God, but we didn't go to church.
Okay.
And I don't really think I came to a serious faith in Jesus Christ until college. Just kind of went through some rough spots with some relationships and whatnot, and life was sort of like a downer for a little bit.
Okay.
And one of my good friends was a Christian and talked me through that period of time, and that's when I came to a saving faith. And ever since that point in college, I've just been on this walk, this journey.
Yeah.
And I was a musician before that, and as is the case with church and being a musician, you always get roped into playing. Churches
always the skill.
Always need competent musicians, and I fit that bill. And it just so happens that my best friend was the worship leader at that church, and so I got roped into playing, and then eventually kind of took my own little Dave Grohl journey from drums to lead leading, singing and playing guitar, and that was just sort of my entrance into leading worship and things like that. So that's just been sort of the road that I've been on ever since then. Never dreamed of working at a church. Just kind of was God marking out that path and just trying to follow it.
Yeah, and we're going to jump on that road here in a minute, but you mentioned finding the faith in college. Mm-hmm. You were at a smaller college to begin with to start your career.
Yep.
And then you moved into the University of Findlay, and that's where you met your lovely wife, Jenna.
My wife, right? Jenna. Yep. We met, and she roped me into doing worship there at their little.
So she was connected already.
Yeah. She was connected and knew that we were not dating at that point. We were just friends, and I showed up, and she knew that I played, and so
God and music brought you together.
I got roped into it. So yeah.
Well, good. That's awesome. So you mentioned that the drums are kind of your first love, maybe?
That was my first instrument.
Yeah, okay.
That's I learned.
But what would you prefer?
I'm always gonna play, or I'm always gonna say guitar.
Okay.
I'm probably a better drummer than I am a guitar player, but I don't know. Guitar is just that. I think it was partially because I really love playing drums, but I learned guitar. Mm-hmm. By playing the drums and watching my friends play.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so
that's cool.
I'd be watching them and just looking at their hand shapes, like the way that they formed their hand to make chords and stuff. And they would leave their gear, because we'd play in my basement, and they'd leave their gear at my house. And so when everybody'd leave, I'd sneak back down and pick up guitars and whatnot, and start playing. And that was how I learned how to play guitar, just watching other people.
That's really cool. And that was before YouTube, so you.
Oh yeah, long before YouTube.
Yeah, you had to kind of train yourself or have somebody train you.
Yeah,
it's no joke, folks.
Yeah.
I've tried to do it, and I got to chord 3, and I couldn't make it past it. And the guitar's been sitting over here in the corner ever since.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. It hurts. It literally hurts, and it's deeply frustrating at times. But I don't know. I'm 42 now, and I've been playing the guitar since I was 16.
Wow.
And I still, every time I pick one up and put it on, I still get that little sense of this is the coolest thing that I know how to do. The guitar is just learning all the cheat codes.
That's fascinating. Yeah. Cheat codes. We were just talking about the PS5 and the college football 25 that just came out. So forgive Sean. I mean, he's on cheat code mode, right? He's trying to find a cheat code at this point.
I don't do cheat codes.
Do they do cheat codes?
I don't.
You'll be Googling it later because he's got to beat his son.
Not in college football. I don't think there's any. There might be some like hacks that you can pull, or some just some glitches in the game that you can exploit. But I don't know of any cheat codes.
I'm sure certain players are cheat codes.
Yes.
In and of them's.
That would be
like
Ohio State's entire receiving core. They're a cheat code.
So what kind of music did you listen to in the 90s? Because that's a grunge era.
I was very much into alternative rock, so all of the bands from there. And I
mean, you referenced Dave Grohl just a minute ago, so you got Nirvana, Foo Fighters in your blood.
Nirvana, Foo Fighters in my blood. I think, honestly, like one of my favorite albums as a kid was the Foo Fighters, The Color and the Shape. It was very influential on me. I was really starting to pick up guitar around that time, so I was learning all of that stuff. For the most part, I mean, honestly, I was really becoming a musician during those years. I was picking up drums, then I was picking up guitar. And so for most of that stuff, it wasn't even, like, the lyrics and whatnot didn't even matter to me. I didn't even really pay attention to that.
Well, most of them didn't make sense.
I was like, because one of the stupid things I did was, because this is back when, like, Walkmans were around, both tape and Discmans.
It's right here, kids. That's a Walkman.
And I figured out with one of them that I could take the headphone jack, and instead of, like, inserting it into the headphone jack all the way, I could just poke it in like halfway in, and it did something weird with the stereo output, and it would like amplify the drums. Like I could hear the drums over and above everything else. It was this weird little glitch that I found, and so I was all the time like just ever so slightly pulling the headphones out of the jack so I could just hear most of it. It felt like like you were in the rooms with the drums and everything else were in another room. It was bizarre. I swear this is real. I'm not making this up. It's not a figment of my imagination, but I just one day by accident I was like, wait a minute, like I can just hear drums. And so many of those songs and albums, like I was pulling that stunt just to hear the drums. And then
is that before or after you got into the drums?
It was after.
Okay.
It was after. So yeah, to me that was like, that was all of a sudden like the world opened up and I could hear every part of the drums. I wasn't having to guess anything.
That's great.
Because I was young, I didn't really know what I was listening for exactly. That really like trained my ear to then like I could just pick stuff out of songs a lot easier. And that helped me to learn the guitar because I could always like pick up little things. But yeah, so much of that stuff, like lyrical content wasn't even really registering. It was all of the guitars and all of the drums that were really like, and that's probably why like now I'm not a good lyricist at all. I can't write lyrics to save my life, and that's probably why, because I never really cared about that stuff. And so I've always just fallen back to being able to pick up what the guitar and what the drums are doing,
the rhythm.
And so whenever I'm like fooling around making music, I'm always about the drums first and then the guitars and everything else. Like if ask anybody on the worship team, like if there's anything I've ever demoed for rehearsal purposes, they're like, yeah, the guitars and the drums are great, but like everything else is super basic and not all that interesting. And there's a reason for that. So
words are super important. I mean, and the way it grabs you, the way the worship music grabs you, and that's kind of what else I wanted to ask you was, you're used to all this other music you were learning and doing, and then you get to college and then you join worship. Was that a big jump for you to go from into the worship sense of it? And I know there's different types of worship. I mean, there's very kind of subdued worship, and then there's like hands in the air kind of praise worship.
And it's funny, like I could play. I was in a band in high school for several years, and we'd play 3 hours of music just off the top of our head. Like we had it all memorized, like every little bit of it, 3 hours. And then I got into worship music, and everybody was cheating. They all had their chord sheets, and I'm like, well, I don't know it. Like, I don't know any of this stuff. I'm like new to worship music. I don't know any of this stuff, and everybody else is cheating, so I'm gonna cheat too. And it really has, like, in a way, been sort of a crutch that I've never really gotten rid of completely. Over time, you start to remember and memorize stuff the more you play it. So there's a lot of stuff now that I can play it by memory. I'm not able to necessarily sing it off of memory. Like, I always have my lyrics up there as a reference point in case I get especially because we still sing some of the old hymns, and those can be wordy or verbose, and I don't want to screw those up.
One of the best things about your stage presence is the kicks, man. Between you and Nick, I mean, it's nothing but shoes up there.
Well, he's more of like, he does wear some interesting footwear, but I feel like he's more of the pants guy. Like, he's always got
pants. Yeah,
he's got a good pants game.
And he's tatted up pretty well too.
Yeah, there's a funny story behind that too. I would love for you to hear it from him though.
Okay, is that on his podcast?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. Obsessed with sneakers since I was a child in the 80s.
The 80s again. Here we go. 80s, 90s.
Because and I'll tell you, it's that darn Michael Jordan that started it all. Because my brother's 9 years older than me. And he turned me on to Michael Jordan at a very young age. And so we became fanatics. And we were just sitting there staring at his footwear for hours, just like analyzing like those Jordan 3s with the elephant print. I was like, what even is that? And just staring at them. And I got my first pair of Jordans were a pair of Jordan 4s, cement gray Jordan 4s as a kid. And then my dad bought us both a pair of the white 5s, and then he bought us a pair of the black 5s. And then,
look how he knows all of these.
Yeah. I wish.
See, I'm a Pistons fan. Bad boys, 80s, 90s, all the way.
I wish you'd have told me that beforehand, because I just wouldn't have come.
Also a Tigers fan. So I'm a old school Pistons fan, but you still have to love Jordan. I did not like when we had to play him. Don't get me wrong, but that was some sweet basketball. You know, back in the Lakers, the Knicks, the Pistons, the Bulls, Pacers, even the Cavs at some point. But yeah, I mean, to watch him was poetic.
Yeah.
You know, to watch him was just absolutely jaw-dropping. And so, yeah, for his footwear to catch fire, and it's still, to this day, I mean, that's a separate brand of Nike. It's just the Air Jordan brand, right? So
I've always been interested in design, and so that's what led me to getting into graphic design. And I think the Jordans were what sort of like turned me on to this whole idea of design. Like, somebody sat down and drew this out and then put together these different materials. And so I think it was just that attention to detail and just the contrast between things and the colors that were used and the textures that are used, and all of those things that sort of captured my imagination as a kid, and sort of like led me down that path of one day getting into design. And
well, I think that kind of actually leads nicely into the next segue, which is the cards, because I think a lot of the cards, the sports cards that you collect or you're into, outside of the Don Mattingly, the Hitman, are like maybe not even artistic, but just like classic.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like the '89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr., you know, the Jordan rookie, all very iconic pieces, not necessarily the best works of graphic design.
No.
But very iconically
done. I don't know. I think in some ways they kind of are, but
like, Skybox was above and beyond where it was in 1990.
Yeah. The design of cards was something that I don't know that I paid some attention to it as a kid, but as I got older is when I really started to drill into the details. But card collecting, or ripping cards, was something, like I said, my brother and I are 9 years apart, and so it's not that we didn't get along, but we didn't have a whole lot of shared interests.
Correct.
We didn't spend a lot of time together. We didn't chum around or whatever. But there was a period of time where we were both really into cards, and so my dad was, back when cards were, the junk wax era, boxes of cards were pretty cheap. And so he would buy us a box here and a box there, and then we'd pull out the old card table, we'd sit down, we'd divvy the packs up, even Steven, and then we'd rip, and then we would stack up the doubles and everything and make sure that all that was equitable. And if you ripped like something that was really cool and we only got one of them, if you pulled it, you got it. And so it was sort of like that back and forth give and take. And so that was really where cards was a part of my childhood. But there's also parts of just the overall card design that again like spoke to more of my artistic or my design mindset as well. I have a couple of them here that I brought with me.
Go ahead and show us. Go ahead and show us.
Okay, so I think the first card that I ever looked at that really like the whole thing I was like, wow, that's pretty wild, was the Jordan Skybox.
Skybox, there it is. I just mentioned it.
Those graphics are absolutely kind of awful, but I mean, when this card came out this is in '91, so when these came out, like there was not another card out there like that.
No,
even close
that was
to
futuristic.
That was wild. And being a Michael Jordan fan, and just like the pose is great. That is like the graphics are absolutely weird and wild, very, very, very 90s. Like this is like, if you want to really dial into 90s aesthetics, it's like this and Saved by the Bell, or like they're sitting on each other's corner in terms of like design language. And so that was like my first card that I was like, oh my gosh, like that card is so cool.
But that's what Skybox was all about. When they came out, that was like, wow, this is the future of card design.
Yeah, and so this was really cool. The D Brown card where he's doing the no look thing
with his pumps on.
Yeah, I have that in the Skybox as well. So this was like the first card where I was like, okay, design is weird and wild and wonderful, and they're doing it with cards now. So that was really cool. But as I got older, I really got into the 86 Topps design, and I think that this one probably speaks a little bit more to my designer's heart, just because there's a lot of simplicity in it. There's only two colors, and just this sort of weird retro typeface that they use for all the team names. It's kind of weird and wonky, but still pretty simple in its design, and I just love it so much. And this is one of my favorite cards. It's the 86 Topps Don Mattingly. My buddy Corey bought me this graded version. It's a PSA 9, which it's not worth a ton of money, but I love the design of the card. I love the player because I'm a big Yankees fan, and Don Mattingly is one of my favorite players. Another bearer of the number 23. So those are like two of my favorite card designs, and they're very old at this point. And modern cards, there's a lot of cool stuff going on with those as well. But
there is, but I don't know if this one has it. Yeah. Okay. So you take a look at this, and you have Jordan, you have the hoop in there, but they also had a thoughtful back design as well.
Yeah. So that's from the set of Michael Jordan's Playground.
Yes.
Which is another video, or another Jordan video that they did.
Correct. But it's like a whole new card.
Those 89 upper decks with the King Griffey Jr. rookie. Like, I remember very specifically, one of the coolest parts about those cards were when you flipped it over on the back, it had the little upper deck hollow on it. Yeah. And you're just like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
Like, that's
no one's ever going to counterfeit this.
It's like they put a precious gem on every single card. You were like, that's so wild that they put that, because you had the little stickers for like the Trapper Keeper. Yeah. But then it's like they put that little hollow on there, and it was just like a little, just the coolest little touch to it.
Holograms were huge.
And I don't think that they knew what that was going to do to cards in general from there on out.
So one of the surprises we have for you.
Oh boy.
As we close out the 24 season, if I can find it back here, I don't want you to see what else is hiding back here.
Okay, there's multiple things.
Oh, there he is. So we recently took on a donation.
Okay.
And I got very excited as I was looking through this donation.
Okay.
Very excited.
Is that what all the boxes are? They're off camera? Like, is that?
Oh boy, you have no idea how much time we spend looking through cards. So I was super excited for this, and then as I got closer to this interview, I took a closer look at the card and was actually let down just a tiny bit, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
What year is Mattingly's rookie year?
84.
That's
a Fleer 84.
That is a Mattingly rookie. However, read the top right corner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's a reissue.
It's a reissue. It's a reprint. Yeah. I was absolutely...
You were like, oh no!
Going crazy over this. But still, part of your collection now.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. I love it. I don't actually have the original ones. That's not to say I don't have a couple of searches saved in my eBay for the Fleer and the Donruss Mattingly. I do have an 86. Well, it's not an 86, but I have a Jordan Fleer rookie card, but it's one of those 10 Years of Excellence reissues that they did. I have one of those.
But still fun.
I'm never going to own a Michael Jordan rookie card ever in my life.
And if you do, Jenna's probably
this
not
going to be the closest I'm going to get to it, so I might as well have one. So
this is along the same lines, and they did an excellent job with the reprint.
Yeah.
Like it's almost even patinaed enough.
You would. I mean, it's got a little.
That's what threw me off.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of that. Like it's not yellowing, but it's like
it's like tealing.
It looks tealing.
Yes.
Like it's like discolored a little bit. So it's just a little bit off color. Yeah,
that's what got me so excited. And I started Googling and like, what's the rookie year? No way, there was a rookie Mattingly in there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that would have been wild if it was like legit.
Yeah.
So
bummer, but still fun.
Still very cool. Thank you so much. That's very kind
absolutely. Here, how about another stand? I have plenty of them. To me, it's the memory era.
And I've talked about how these were influential on me becoming a designer and just my creative side and whatnot. And so like thinking about what I leave behind to my kids, I don't just want to leave them like a basement full of junk. Like I've been collecting these little artifacts that I think were influential on who I was as a person.
You should put a Post-it note on the back of these and just say,
well, I've got a couple of these.
Yeah.
I've got, this isn't the only one I have. I have some raw that are earmarked for like my kids. Like I don't want to leave you a bunch of junk.
Yeah.
I want to leave you little artifacts that were like representative of who your dad was as a person or what influenced me. So like there's a couple different cards. There's a couple pair of shoes. Like the Jordan 2s are not the most popular Jordan shoes, but they were my favorites out of all of them.
Okay.
And so I have 2 pairs of 2s.
I like how
one
you do
earmarked for my kids. I have my favorite guitar, which they're on stage every Sunday, both of them. They're different colors, but I'm never going to get rid of those guitars. They will go to my kids. And here's the thing. If you want to keep these things because they remind you of dad, keep them. If not, sell them and get rid of them.
Yeah.
But you don't have a bunch of stuff to get rid of because I'm not leaving you a bunch of stuff
that's really cool
that you have to pick through and maybe auction off or whatever. I don't want that to be on your lap. Here's some things that were meaningful to me that you might find meaningful as well.
Well, I think what you just said was super cool because we've just brought this thing full circle with this next comment.
Okay.
And this is actually the Holy Spirit, believe it or not, leading this conversation, but you're leaving more than just cards and shoes and like your faith.
Yeah.
When you and your wife are displaying that every single Sunday, being up there worshiping, your kids are up there paying attention.
Yeah.
And they're loving seeing dad up on stage. So I mean, just that, seeing dad up on stage, having those memories, just being with them in the faith, volunteering, being with them and being at the events and everything like that. I mean, that's all just those little seeds too that aren't tangible, but at the same time, something that's never going to leave them. So that's cool, man. I appreciate all that. So I don't know if you're familiar with these rounds, but usually at this time, oh my goodness. Yeah, you have no idea what's happening right now, do you?
No, there's something going on with the screen. I know that.
Nobody ever knows this because it's time for the lightning round, my friend.
Okay.
7 questions. I want you to answer as quickly as you can. That's why it's lightning, right?
Yep.
Not just a clever name. Number 1. What is your favorite movie from your childhood?
Star Wars.
That was probably the fastest answer we've ever had at the Blessings Bar. I'm going to be completely honest.
And if you need clarity, it was Star Wars: A New Hope.
Okay. Question number 2.
Okay.
What artists do you think will be playing on Oldies Radio in 30 years?
Oh goodness, it's probably going to. I mean, I think the Foo Fighters are going to be in there. I think they are.
I think they have to be.
I think they are. Absolutely. I don't see any way around that. They're already considered classic rock.
Oh, are they really?
I think so.
Ouch.
I think I've kind of come to terms with it now that they're calling music from the late 1900s classic rock now.
If you were a famous musician, what would your stage name be?
Oh gosh. I don't know that I would have one. I think if you asked our friend Mike Norman, he would say Shondo Bondo. That was like some weird nickname that he gave me. It was Shondo Bondo.
How about just Bondo?
I don't know. It's too close to Bono. I don't know.
That's true. I was going to tell you Cher was already taken.
I think it would probably just be. I think it'd be super boring to just be my regular name. Like, oh, it's Sean Malloy.
Super boring would be cool.
It could, yeah.
So
I could go that route. I could get down with that.
Bondo. I just like Bondo.
Crap, now people are going to call me that, aren't they?
Yeah, well, all right. Question number 4. Besides Buckeyes, what food do you think would best represent Ohio?
Besides Buckeyes.
Yeah, these aren't easy.
No, that's a hard one.
I had to think hard about this.
Don't you feel like though that kind of depends on where you're from? Like if you're in Columbus, I'm gonna guess like one of the local fare is their claim to fame might be Donato's Pizza. Donato's is real big pizza down there.
Let's just go with
Jenny's.
Let's just go with Donato's because Jamie's gonna lose her mind. That's her favorite pizza in the world. So
really?
Whenever we're at the Columbus airport, we load up on Donato's.
Yeah, that's.
But I was thinking similar to that. I was thinking Skyline Chili.
That's a Cincinnati thing, though.
That's what I'm thinking.
But
because it failed up here.
But it's not very good.
Question number 5.
Okay.
Which piece of clothing do you no longer wear but can't throw away?
Oh, goodness. I've got some old Michael Jordan t-shirts from when I was younger that I haven't
Were they the world champions shirts? I had some of those for the Pistons.
No, no. I'll have to dig them out and take some pictures of them. I still have my original Michael Jordan champion branded jerseys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have a black version, I have a red version, and then I have a red version of the 45 as well. I still have all 3 of them.
That's great.
I had to have a 45.
That's fantastic. Those are good things to say for your kids.
Yeah, they actually wore them to school a couple years ago. They had Jersey Day. Yeah, they all 3 wore a jersey to school.
That's awesome. Yeah. Number 6. What was the weirdest thing or occupation you wanted to be when you grew up?
A musician.
You did it. Good job.
Honestly, I kind of thought one of my lone anxieties as a kid because I didn't really have a lot. I just worried about what am I going to do when I grow up. I have no idea. I have no idea what I want to do.
That was a legit concern?
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what I really want to do. Because the only thing I was into was music. But I'm like, I know that that's not an easy path. I know that that's not the chances of you becoming a famous musician and just making oodles of money off of that were infinitesimally small. So I don't know. I mean, Captain of the Millennium Falcon maybe. That was.
That could have been your name. That's close to Bondo, Solo.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I don't really know that. I don't really know that I had any wild aspirations as a kid.
Because that one's awesome.
Yeah, I think every kid goes through their phase where they're like, I want to be a marine biologist and work with dolphins or something like that, and then you quickly snap out of that. So.
Okay, question number 7, and by far the most important question we have on the survey.
Okay.
If Darth Vader offered you a hug, would you accept it?
I think so. I probably would. I mean, if Luke could still sense the conflict in him, and still held out hope that his father would, he would turn towards the good side, he'd turn towards the light again. I have to figure that I'm gonna back Luke on this one. And if Darth Vader offers me a hug, I mean, one of 2 things happens. He's either sincere about it, and everything works out, or the thing that they write on your tombstone is killed by Darth Vader. And I think that's
it's like a badge of honor.
An interesting. I don't know. It'd be an interesting story for your kids to tell.
When you hug, you either live or die.
Yeah.
Is the point of it. That's why we asked the question.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to happen. I've always said you hug the man.
You do.
Because when Luke took off the mask, he's just a little white softy.
Yeah, he's just an old man. That's all he is. Yeah. He's more machine than man, as Obi-Wan would say. But yeah, he's in there.
Well, thanks, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us. But it's really not over because you got to head to the card table and rip a box for us. That's going to be on the episode 49 card table episode. Go ahead and click it. There's a link in the bottom. There's also a link at the top of your screen. But you don't know what we're ripping yet.
No.
Would you rather find out now or at the table?
Let's find out at the table. Let's keep it. Let's keep it at the table.
Let's find out at the table. Let's go to the card table. Thank you for tuning in. I hope Sean's faith walk impacts your life and encourages you to be the hands and feet of Jesus in your community, your school, your church, your house, wherever it is. I hope his story sparks your story. And until our next episode, remember to love God and love people.